The dreams came every night now. A woman with moonlight hair standing on a battlefield, hands glowing violet, reaching for something beyond sight. Then darkness, screaming, a blade. Alara Whitmore woke with tears on her face, that hollow ache in her chest older than her 18 years. She pressed fingers against cold stone, grounding herself in Ironhold Castle's familiar walls. This had been home since before memory. Servants said her parents died in a border skirmish when she was barely walking. She had grown up in these corridors, learning to be invisible, learning her place. Omega served, that was the natural order. But this morning felt different. A tremor in the air made her wolf stir restlessly. Something was coming. The hallways buzzed with whispered conversations that died when she approached. Higher-ranking wolves moved with sharp strides, shoulders tight. Lady Isolde, the head housekeeper, stood directing preparations with stern grace. She was perhaps 60, dark hair silvered at temples, bearing elegant, despite simple wool. Alara had always felt drawn to her, though they rarely spoke beyond duty. Something in Isolde's eyes, a deep sadness, flickered when she looked at Alara. The guest chambers must be perfect. Isolde's voice carried. The Alpha King arrives within the hour. The Alpha King, Darius Shadowcrest, ruler of all northern territories, the most powerful werewolf alive. Alara's hands tightened on the linens. The silver wolf who had ruled longer than anyone remembered. Some whispered he was immortal. She felt it before she saw him. Pressure in the air, heavy and electric. Her wolf whimpered, recognizing something ancient and overwhelming. Then she saw him. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in black leather and dark furs like legend-made flesh. Silver hair fell past his shoulders. Strong jaw, sharp cheekbones, mouth set in a line suggesting he rarely smiled. And his eyes. Pure molten silver burning with intensity that stole breath from lungs. Those eyes found her across the distance. Impact like a physical blow. Her wolf surged forward with recognition. Mate, impossible, she was nobody. Just an Omega servant with strange violet eyes. But he walked toward her and the world tilted sideways. Warriors followed footsteps echoing in sudden silence. Alara dropped into deep curtsy, trembling as his power pressed down like a weighted blanket demanding submission. Instead of passing, a hand appeared, long fingers strong and elegant reaching down. Rise. Command. Her body obeyed before mind could protest. She stood on shaking legs, keeping gaze lowered, but those fingers caught her chin and tilted her face up with gentle inevitability. She stared into silver eyes that saw straight through to soul. This close, she could see fine lines at corners, feel warmth radiating, smell cedar and mountain air, and something wild that made her wolf want a bare throat. What is your name? Deep voice, smooth, carrying an edge of absolute authority. Alara, your majesty. Alara Whitmore. Something flickered in ancient eyes. Recognition. His thumb brushed her cheekbone, brief touch sending fire through veins. How old are you, Alara Whitmore? 18, your majesty. Just turned 18 last month. Silver eyes blazed brighter. His hand fell away, but gaze remained locked with intensity, making her want to run and move closer in equal measure. You will attend the feast tonight. Lady Isolde will provide appropriate attire. Not request, not even command, simply statement of fact from a man never refused. Then he moved past warriors following like shadows. Alara stood frozen, heart-hammering mind spinning with questions she had no answers for. Behind her, Lady Isolde's sharp intake of breath. When Alara turned, the older woman's face had gone pale, eyes wide with fear and grief and resignation tangled together. Come with me. Isolde's voice was tight. We need to talk. Now. Lady Isolde's chamber felt cramped as the older woman paced like caged wolf. Alara stood uncertain, mind reeling. Isolde stopped pacing. Tears shimmered in proud eyes for the first time in 18 years. I have kept a secret, a terrible necessary secret. But time has run out. He knows. That is why he came. Alara's throat went dry. I don't understand. Your parents, the story you were told was a lie meant to protect you. Isolde moved closer, hands reaching, then falling away. They were murdered, assassinated because of what you are, because of the bloodline you carry. The room tilted. Alara gripped a chair for support. You are the last of the moon-blessed, final living descendant of an ancient line hunted to extinction 200 years ago during the Purge. Moon-blessed. The words stirred deep memory. Legends of women who could heal with a touch, see truth with violet eyes, carry the moon goddess's light in their blood. But Isolde looked at her with such desperate honesty that foundations of world began cracking. The Purge. 200 years ago, a faction rose who feared the moon-blessed. They hunted them systematically. Whole families slaughtered. Ancient bloodlines erased. But I'm alive. Because your parents died to keep you hidden. Because I have lied every day for 18 years. Tears spilled down weathered cheeks. Because I am your mother, Alara. I am the last moon blessed before you. And I have spent nearly 2 decades watching you grow, unable to claim you, because the moment anyone knew truth, you would become a target. Words hit like physical blows. Alara's knees buckled. Her mother. Lady Isolde was her mother. The stern woman who supervised chores and never showed affection was her mother. Why tell me now? Because the Alpha King knows. Isolde knelt, taking cold hands. I do not know how, but he knows what you are. There are ancient laws, laws that say moon-blessed belong to the strongest Alpha, to the king. No, Alara pulled hands freestanding. Those laws are dead. Wolves have choices now. Tell that to him. Tell that to the most powerful wolf alive, who has waited goddess knows how long to find you. Isolde's voice carried bitter knowledge. Who has traveled territories and moved pieces on a political board you cannot comprehend, all to claim what ancient law says is his right. I won't accept this. I have a say in my fate. Isolde stood slowly, face etched with sorrow. I pray you are right, daughter, but I have lived longer and I have learned that kings take what they want. The only question is how much they are willing to destroy to get it. The dress arrived that afternoon, deep sapphire silk shimmering like moonlight on water medieval style with fitted bodice and flowing skirts. Soft leather slippers, silver circlet for hair. Most beautiful thing Alara had ever seen, and she hated it. Isolde helped her dress in silence, fingers gentle, working through pale blonde hair, braiding into intricate crown and securing circlet like delicate chain of stars. When Alara looked at polished metal mirror, she barely recognized the girl staring back. She looked like someone important, someone who belonged in Great Hall instead of scrubbing floors. But beneath fine silk, still just Alara, still terrified. The Great Hall blazed with hundreds of candles in iron chandeliers. Long tables groaned with roasted meats and fresh bread and wine flowing like rivers. Wolves in finest attire filled every corner, laughter and conversation creating wall of sound. Alara slipped through servants' entrance trying to stay small, but sapphire dress marked her as different. Heads turned, whispers spread like wildfire. Then trumpets sounded. Hall fell silent. Alpha King entered, flanked by personal guard. Every wolf lowered heads in automatic submission. Dressed in black leather and midnight furs, silver hair, loose presence so commanding, Alara felt it like hand pressing against chest. His eyes found her immediately, as if he had known exactly where she would be. He smiled, not kind smile, smile of predator spotting prey. Come here, voice carried across hall despite not being raised. Alpha command made Alara's body move before mind could protest. Feet carried her forward through parted crowd until she stood before raised platform. She dropped into deep curtsy holding position because she did not know what else to do. Rise. She obeyed, forcing herself to meet Silver Eyes. He gestured to chair beside his own seat. Sit. You will dine with me tonight. Hall erupted in shocked whispers. Omega at high table, beside Alpha King himself, violated every protocol, but no one dared object. Alara moved on trembling legs and sat, hands folded to hide shaking. Stares burned into her back. Throughout meal, Darius spoke in low tones only she could hear. Questions about her life, childhood memories, dreams. Each answer absorbed with complete attention as if she were only person worth listening to. When servants brought food, he selected finest pieces and placed them on her plate with his own hands. Gesture so intimate, so possessive, heat rose to her cheeks. Around them, whispers grew louder. She barely tasted anything. Stomach twisted too tight with nerves and confusion and strange awareness of the man beside her, beautiful in a way making throat ache. Strong and dangerous and utterly beyond reach, yet treating her like something precious. Why, what did he want? As feast wound down, Darius stood, extended hand. Walk with me. Phrased as invitation, but delivered as command. Alara placed small hand in much larger one and let him lead her from hall, every eye following. He led through familiar corridors, feeling strange and dangerous, emerging onto high balcony overlooking moonlit mountains. Night air cool against flushed skin. They stood in silence, his hand still holding hers, thumb tracing idle patterns, sending shivers up arm. Do you know why I came to Ironhold, Alara? Voice quiet, almost contemplative. She shook her head. I came because I received word that an Omega of unusual bloodline had been hidden here, living as servant when she should have been raised in privilege and power. He turned to face her fully free hand, cupping her cheek with surprising gentleness. I came to verify the information, and if it proved true, to claim what is mine by ancient right. Breath caught. I don't understand, Your Majesty. I'm nobody. Your mother lied to protect you. You are descended from the moon blessed, an ancient line carrying magic in their blood. Your violet eyes are the mark. Alara Whitmore, you are the last of your kind. By laws that governed our people before politics divided us, you belong to the strongest alpha. He stepped closer, heat radiating. You belong to me. Words crashed like wave. Moon blessed, ancient bloodline, magic, impossible. But deep inside her, Wolf recognized truth. Recognized pull toward this powerful alpha as something more than simple attraction. Mate bond. She could feel it in now golden thread connecting chest to his thrumming with energy and need. Your Majesty, even if true, I cannot simply belong to you. We live in modern age. Wolves have choices. We are not bound by laws written centuries ago. Something dangerous flickered in Silver eyes. Hand tightened slightly on cheek, not painful but possessive. You think you have choice? You think I have waited this long? Searched this far, only to be refused? He leaned closer, breath warm against lips. You are mine, Alara Whitmore. Mine by blood, mine by right, mine by will of Moon Goddess herself. And tonight I will make certain you understand exactly what that means. Fear spiked sharp and cold. Your Majesty, please. I am untouched. I am innocent. I have never been kissed. If you truly believe we are meant together, surely we can take time. Know each other properly. Build something real instead of forcing. I know everything I need to know. He interrupted, eyes blazing silver fire. I know you are brave enough to question a king. Intelligent enough to see truth when offered. And I know your body already responds to mine. Your omega nature screams at you to submit. Accept what is inevitable. Hand slid from cheek down, column of throat, fingers settling over rapid pulse flutter. I can feel your fear, little one. But I can also feel your desire. Your body knows what mine refuses to accept. Alara tried to step back, but balcony railing trapped her between cold stone and overwhelming presence. Please, I need time. Need to understand. I am not ready. You need to learn your place. Voice gone cold, authoritative. King done negotiating. And I have been patient long enough. He moved faster than she could track. Hands gripped waist, lifting her onto wide stone railing. She gasped, acutely aware of deadly drop behind, but his body pressed against hers, pinning her safely. This is your first lesson, Alara. When I give command, you obey. When I tell truth, you believe. And when I claim you as mine, you accept it. Hand fisted in carefully braided hair, tilting head back, exposing vulnerable throat. I am not some soft modern alpha who will court you with flowers and poetry. I am king because I am strong enough to take what I want and hold it against all challengers. Tears blurred vision. This is not right. This is not how it should be. You are frightening me. For just a heartbeat, something like tenderness flickered, then consumed by hunger. I will try to be gentle, but I make no promises. His kiss swallowed protests. Lips claimed hers with devastating thoroughness, tongue invading, mouth tasting and taking. She had never been kissed, had nothing to compare. It was overwhelming, consuming. Hand tangled in hair, while other arm locked around waist, holding her, as if fearing she might disappear. When he pulled back, both breathing hard, his eyes gone almost completely silver, Wolf rising dangerously close. Your Majesty, Darius, please, I am begging you. Not tonight. Not like this. Give me time to prepare, to understand. I promise I will not fight, just please a few days. Your begging is beautiful. Thumb brushed away tear, but it will not save you. In fact, it only makes me want you more. He lifted her from railing and swung her into arms as if she weighed nothing. She did not scream, did not fight. What would be point? He was Alpha King. No one would come to aid. No one would question his right to take what he claimed was his. He carried through empty corridors to chambers far grander than any she had seen. Alpha King's personal rooms in Castle's highest tower. Moment he kicked doors shut, last of hope died. This was happening. Tonight she would lose innocence to man who saw her as possession, and there was nothing she could do. He set her on feet beside massive bed. Hands went to laces of sapphire gown, and she stood frozen as he stripped it away with practiced efficiency. Dress pooled at feet, leaving her in only thin shift beneath. Beautiful. Voice gone, rough hands skimming over barely concealed curves. Even more perfect than I imagined. When fingers caught him of shift, Alara's paralysis broke. She grabbed his wrists. Please, please be gentle. I am so afraid. His eyes met hers. For heartbeat, she saw genuine tenderness, then swallowed by need. I will try, little one. But you have no idea how long I have wanted this. How much restraint it took to wait for you to come of age. Now that I have you here innocent and untouched, and mine, I am not certain I can be gentle, even if I wish. Shift came off in smooth motion. His gaze devoured exposed skin. Alara instinctively moved to cover herself, but he caught wrists holding arms at sides while free hand began slow exploration. He traced curves she barely recognized, calloused fingers rough against soft skin. When palm cupped soft weight of breast thumb, finding sensitive peak, Alara could not suppress gasp. Body was betraying her, responding despite fear. Knowledge made fresh tears spill. That is it, he murmured, lowering head. Feel what I can make you feel. His mouth replaced hand, and Alara cried out at wet heat of tongue swirling around peak. Pleasure shot through her intense and frightening. Hands flew to shoulders, uncertain whether pushing away or pulling closer. He lifted head, silver eyes blazing. You have never felt desire, have you? Let me teach you. Hand slid lower, lower, until fingers found soft curls between thighs and Alara's knees buckled. Only his arm around waist kept her upright. Already wet for me. Voice carried dark satisfaction. Your body understands what mine refuses. When finger-circled bundle of nerves at apex sensation overwhelmed everything. Alara heard herself making sounds she did not recognize, hips moving without conscious direction, seeking more touch, even as mine screamed this was wrong. He lifted her onto bed, following down and covering smaller body with much larger one. Weight pressed her into furs. He was still fully clothed while she was bare, and inequality made her feel impossibly vulnerable. He kissed again, slower, but no less consuming. Hands continued torturous exploration. She could feel his hardness pressing against thigh through leather breeches, and fear spiked, renewed and sharp. When he pulled back to strip away own clothing, Alara got first real look at aroused male. Panic overrode everything. He was too large. Her untried body could never accommodate. Seeing expression, he smiled that dangerous smile. I know you are small and I am not gentle lover. This will hurt at first, but I promise pain will transform to pleasure if you surrender instead of fighting. She tried to scramble backward, but he caught ankle and dragged her back beneath him with casual strength. No more running, Alara. His body settled between thighs. She felt blunt pressure against entrance, felt own body instinctively trying to close. Wait, please, your majesty, wait. I am not ready. Please, just wait. But he was done waiting. Pain was sharp and sudden and overwhelming. Alara screamed, hands pushing uselessly against chest as he filled her, completely tearing through innocence with one powerful thrust. He stilled once fully seated forehead, dropping to rest against hers, breathing ragged. So tight. Perfect. Tears streamed as she tried to adjust to burning stretch beyond what she thought possible. Everything hurt. I am sorry, little one. Lips brushed hers, though tone suggested not sorry at all. But feeling you beneath me, smelling arousal, hearing you beg. It broke last of control. He began to move, slow withdrawals followed by deep thrusts, making her cry out with each one. Pain intense, but gradually agonizingly began to shift. Body started to adjust. Slick heat eased passage, and beneath hurt she could feel first whispers of pleasure building. He noticed immediately. There it is. Your body was made for mine, Alara. Just surrender. Hand slipped between joined bodies, finding sensitive bundle again. When he circled it in time with thrusts, pleasure exploded into something never experienced. She heard herself making desperate sounds, felt body arching to meet movements instead of escaping. Pressure built and built, coiling tighter until she thought she would shatter. Then fingers pressed harder, and hips snapped forward in particularly deep thrust, and she broke apart completely. Climax crashed through like lightning. Muscles clenched around him. Vision went white with pleasure, so intense it felt like dying and being reborn. She dimly heard Darius groan as body convulsed around him, felt movements become erratic, desperate. Then he was spilling inside her, hot and claiming marking from within as his. He collapsed against her weight, crushing but somehow comforting. Long moments they lay tangled, while breathing slowly returned to normal. When Darius finally withdrew and rolled aside, Alara immediately curled into herself, pulling furs around naked body. She had been claimed, taken, innocence stolen by king who saw her as property. But body still hummed with pleasure, still craved touch despite everything, and that knowledge made her hate herself. Darius seemed untroubled. He pulled her against chest despite resistance, wrapping larger body around hers in possessive embrace. Sleep, little one. Tomorrow we travel to my territory, and your new life begins. His hand slid between thighs again. Alara realized with horror he meant to take her again. Please, she whispered, I am sore. I need rest. Later you will have rest, but your first night in my bed will be memorable. He claimed her once more before dawn, with slightly less pain, and slightly more pleasure until Alara's body was conditioned to respond. By time pale light filtered through windows, she was exhausted and aching, marked inside and out as belonging to Alpha King. He finally allowed sleep as sun rose, keeping her locked in arms like treasure he refused to release. When Alara woke hours later disoriented, she found Darius already dressed and watching with unreadable expression. "We leave within the hour. My servants have packed your belongings. You will ride with me." Not a request. She dressed in ruined sapphire gown, wincing at soreness, making every movement a reminder. Female servant appeared to help, eyes holding pity when taking in marks on throat and way she moved like someone in pain. Journey to Shadowkeep would take 3 days of hard riding, 3 days pressed against Darius's chest, 3 nights where he would claim her again. As they rode out of Ironhold's gates, Alara caught sight of Lady Isolde standing in courtyard. Their eyes met across distance. Her mother's face etched with sorrow and regret and helpless love. Then gates closed behind them, and Alara's old life disappeared forever. First day passed in blur of landscape and steady rhythm of hoofbeats. Darius kept one arm wrapped around waist, at all times possessive and unyielding. They stopped only briefly to rest horses, and each time he helped her down with surprising gentleness, as if aware of soreness, even if would not acknowledge aloud. That night they made camp in clearing. Darius led her to tent erected away from others. Inside furs had been laid out to create surprisingly comfortable bed. "Rest," he said, surprising her. "Tonight I will let you sleep." But he pulled her against him, wrapping body around hers in now familiar, possessive embrace. Despite everything, Alara found herself relaxing into warmth. Exhausted body seeking comfort wherever could be found. She woke in deep hours to find him watching, silver eyes reflecting moonlight filtering through a tent opening. "You are remarkable," he said quietly. "Stronger than you know. I see it in you, the bloodline, the power waiting to emerge." "I do not feel powerful. I feel broken." Something like regret flickered across face. "I know I took your innocence roughly, gave you no choice. But Ilara, you must understand, I have waited so long, searched for so many years. When I finally found you, when I saw those violet eyes and felt mate bond snap into place, I could not. I would not risk losing you. So you made certain I could not refuse." Yes, he did not try to deny. "I took what I wanted because I am strong enough. That is the way of our world, the way it has always been. It does not have to be." He was quiet for a long moment. "Then perhaps you are right. Perhaps things could be different." Hand came up to cup face with surprising gentleness. "Ask me for something, Alara, anything within my power, and I will give it." She thought carefully. "I want Lady Isolde to join us at Shadowkeep. I want my mother with me." "Done. I will send riders at first light. And I want you to tell me truth. All of it. Why you really needed to claim me so urgently." "What you are not saying." His jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he would refuse. Then he sighed, sound carrying weight of centuries. "There is a prophecy, ancient one written when moon-blessed still walked freely. It speaks of last daughter of that line. It says she must be bonded to true Alpha before her 19th birthday. If this does not occur, a curse will be unleashed. Darkness will spread across territories. War will consume everything." Ilara's blood ran cold. "How long do I have?" 11 months. "And you waited until now to tell me. Would it have made claiming easier? Would you have come willingly if I had led with prophecies and curses?" He had a point, though she hated to admit it. "There is more," he continued, voice dropping even lower. "Prophecy states bond must be freely given, that only true love can break the curse." Alara's breath caught. "But you forced me. You gave me no choice." "I know." Words carried genuine anguish. "I know, Alara. And I have doomed us both. Because I could not control myself. Because I wanted you too much to wait. Because I am selfish bastard who takes what he wants regardless of consequence." He pulled her closer, face buried in hair. "So now you understand. I have claimed you, yes. But unless you come to love me willingly, unless you choose me with your whole heart, curse will still fall. And I will have destroyed our only chance at salvation." Alara laid in his arms as the weight of revelation settled. She was not just claimed, she was crucial. Fate of kingdoms rested on whether she could learn to love the man who had stolen her innocence. Impossibility threatened to crush her. But beneath fear and anger, something else stirred. Tiny spark of, not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps understanding. He was not monster, simply desperate man who had made terrible choices out of fear. 11 months, she whispered. "We have 11 months to turn force into choice, violation into love." "Yes, and then you had better start trying, Your Majesty, because right now I do not love you. I am not certain I even like you." He laughed, sound bitter and pained. Fair enough, little one. Fair enough. They rode into Shadowkeep Fortress on third day as sun began descent toward horizon. Fortress rose from mountainside like something from legend, massive stone walls carved with symbols glowing faintly in twilight. Towers reached toward sky, and everywhere Alara looked there were wolves. Hundreds of them. This would be her home, her prison, place where she would either fall in love with captor or doom the world. Gates opened at approach. Wolves dropped to knees as Darius rode through with Alara held against chest. She could feel their eyes curious and assessing. Elderly woman approached as Darius dismounted, bearing suggesting high rank despite age. She dropped into respectful curtsy. Your Majesty, welcome home. Alara. Darius helped her down, keeping her close. This is Marjorie, head of royal household. Marjorie, this is Alara Whitmore, last moon blessed, my destined mate. She will be presented to Pack as my chosen queen. Until then, she is to be afforded every courtesy and protection. Threat in words was unmistakable. Marjorie's eyes widened, but she bowed even deeper. Of course, Your Majesty. Show her to my chambers. Help her bathe and rest. Her mother, Lady Isolde, will be arriving within days and should be given quarters near Alara's. He turned to Alara, handcuffing face and now familiar gesture. I have matters to attend to, but I will join you this evening. Then he was gone, leaving Alara alone with Marjorie in vast courtyard of her new prison. Chambers were staggering, vast rooms taking up entire floor of highest tower. Marjorie showed her through, explaining each space. Bedchamber with massive bed, bathing room with copper tub large enough to swim in, sitting room where she could receive visitors. These have been Alpha King's personal chambers for many years, Marjorie explained. He has resided here alone, but now that he has found his mate, they are yours to share. Alara looked at that massive bed and felt stomach twist with knowledge she would be expected to share it every night. Marjorie seemed to sense distress. I know this must be overwhelming, child, but you should understand His Majesty has waited very long time for mate. You are precious to him. He has strange way of showing it. Older woman was quiet for a long moment. Old ways are harsh, but I have known him since he was young. He is capable of tenderness toward those he loves. Perhaps give him chance to prove that to you. After Marjorie left, Alara sank into steaming bath that had been prepared. Hot water soothed aching muscles in tender places. Finally alone for first time in 3 days, she allowed herself to cry properly. All fear and pain and confusion poured out until she had no tears left. Then she simply sat in cooling water, trying to piece together who she was now. Not servant anymore. Not just Alara, but last moon blessed, queen-to-be, girl with 11 months to save world by falling in love with man who had claimed her by force. Door opened. Darius entered, and Alara's heart began to race with fear and unwelcome anticipation. But he did not approach bathing room. Instead, voice carried through doorway. I will sleep in guest chamber tonight. You need rest. Time to heal. I pushed you too hard these past days. Alara sat up in surprise, water sloshing. You are giving me space. You asked for chance to turn force into choice. That begins with respecting your boundaries. His shadow moved across doorway. Sleep well, Alara. Tomorrow your real education begins. Then he was gone. Alara sat alone in bath, uncertain whether to feel relief or disappointment, while moonlight streamed through windows and somewhere in distance, a wolf howled at stars. Alara woke to sunlight streaming through windows wrapped in silk sheets, smelling of cedar and mountain air. For heartbeats, she forgot where she was. Then memory crashed back with weight of impossible expectations. 10 months. 10 months left until her 19th birthday. 10 months to fall in love with man who had claimed her by force or watch kingdoms fall to curse she barely understood. Soft knock preceded Marjorie's entrance, elderly woman carrying tray laden with breakfast. Behind came 2 younger servants bearing armful of gowns in rich jewel tones. His Majesty thought you might prefer to choose own attire. Marjorie set tray near windows. He has also arranged for Lady Isolde's arrival this afternoon. She will have chambers down the corridor. Alara's throat tightened with emotion. Her mother. She would have her mother here. That small mercy felt like water in desert. Where is he? Alpha King is in council meetings. He asked me to inform you that your training begins this afternoon. You are to learn what it means to be moon-blessed. What power runs in your blood? Power. Alara looked down at hands pale and ordinary in morning light. How could fate of kingdoms rest on her shoulders? But she rose and dressed in gown of deep emerald, making eyes look even more vivid. She ate breakfast, though stomach churned. When Marjorie led her through fortress to tower room filled with ancient books and artifacts, Alara lifted chin and tried to look like someone who belonged. Room with circular windows on all sides offering views of mountains and forests, stretching to every horizon. Shelves lined walls packed with leather-bound volumes older than memory. In center stood table covered in maps and scrolls. Beside it waited woman Ilara had not expected to see. Lady Isolde turned from window and for first time in 18 years mother and daughter stood face to face with no pretense between them. Leave us. Isolde's voice steady, but hands trembled slightly as Marjorie bowed and departed. Silence stretched heavy with years of unspoken truths. Then Isolde crossed space in 3 quick strides and pulled Ilara into arms. Embrace was fierce and desperate. Ilara felt something break loose inside her chest. She buried face in mother's shoulder and sobbed like child she had never been allowed to be. Isolde held her one hand stroking hair, murmuring words in language Ilara did not understand but somehow knew in bones. I am sorry, Isolde's voice cracked. So sorry, my darling girl. For every moment I could not claim you. For every time I wanted to hold you and had to turn away. For failing to protect you from this fate. You did not fail. Ilara pulled back enough to see mother's face, seeing own features reflected. Same bone structure, same stubborn chin. You kept me alive. You kept secret. That was all anyone could do. But he still found you, still took you. Isolde's hands framed Ilara's face. Did he hurt you terribly? Question made cheeks burn. He was not gentle, but not cruel either. He is complicated. Men in power often are. Isolde guided her to chairs near window. But we are not here to discuss him. We are here because you need to understand what you are, what you can become. Over next hours, Isolde taught daughter history that had been stolen. Moonblessed had been healers, counselors, peacekeepers. Women who could see truth in lies, who could calm conflicts with touch, who carried Moon Goddess's own light in blood. They had been revered, protected, essential to balance of power among wolf packs, until the purge. It began with fear, Isolde explained, voice heavy with old grief. Some alphas grew to resent our influence. They wanted absolute power, not wisdom to temper strength. So they spread lies, called us witches, claimed we controlled minds rather than healed hearts. And when enough believed, lies killing began. She pulled back sleeve, revealing scar running from wrist to elbow. I survived because I was young, because my mother hid me with humans until worst had passed. By time I emerged, world had forgotten what we truly were. I lived in shadows, never dared use gifts, never thought I would have child to carry bloodline forward. But you did. Your father was good man, beta wolf who asked nothing except honesty. When I told him what I was, he married me anyway, swore to protect our secret. Isolde's eyes grew distant. He kept that promise with his life. When assassins came, he died buying me time to hide you, to fake our deaths and bury you so deep in obscurity that no one would think to look. Who sent assassins? I do not know. Someone who knew bloodline survived. Someone who wanted it ended. Isolde's jaw tightened. Or someone who wanted to claim it for themselves. Ilara thought of Darius, of his urgency, his desperate need to possess her before anyone else could. Do you think he was behind it? Alpha King? Isolde considered carefully. No, I have watched him these past days. Spoken with those who know him. He is many things, but he is not the one who murdered your father. If anything, I suspect he has been hunting same enemy, trying to reach you first. To protect me or possess me. Perhaps both. Isolde took Ilara's hands. He has lived very long time, my daughter. Long enough to have loved and lost before. Long enough to have learned that in our world what you do not claim someone else will take. I am not excusing what he did, but I think I understand why he did it. Ilara wanted to argue, wanted to hold on to anger because it felt safer. But sitting here with mother learning about weight of history and reality of threats she could not yet name, she felt certainty beginning to crack. Teach me, she said finally. Teach me to use whatever power I have. So I am not just prized to be won. So I have some say in my fate. Isolde smiled and it transformed face from stern to beautiful. That, my darling girl, is exactly what I hoped you would say. They spent afternoon in tower room, Isolde guiding Ilara through first tentative steps of accessing gifts. It started with breathing, with learning to sense energy flowing through all living things. Then came harder part, learning to shape that energy, to direct it with intention. Healing is first gift most moon-blessed discover, Isolde explained. Hold out your hand. Ilara obeyed and Isolde produced small knife, drawing it across own palm before Ilara could protest. Blood welled bright and red. Feel wrongness of it, Isolde instructed calmly. Tear in skin that should be whole. Now reach for that feeling. Imagine knitting it back together, thread by thread. Alara stared at the wound heart pounding. She had no idea what she was supposed to do. But she focused on Mother's hand on blood that should not be spilling, and something inside chest grew warm. Her own hand began to glow with soft violet light. Isolde gasped, and together they watched as wound closed skin knitting seamlessly until no trace of cut remained. Goddess, Isolde breathed. That took me months to learn. You did it in seconds. Alara stared at the own hand glow already fading. I do not understand. How? You are stronger than I ever was. Bloodline concentrates with each generation. You are not just moon-blessed, Alara. You may be most powerful of our line ever born. Revelation should have felt triumphant. Instead, it terrified her. More power meant more danger, more responsibility, more reasons for people to want to use her. There are other gifts, Isolde continued. Truth-seeing, which I will teach you next week. Emotional healing, which takes years to master. And purification, the rarest gift which only the strongest moon-blessed can access. It allows you to cleanse corruption from souls to burn away darkness with light of compassion. Can I learn that? Perhaps, but it is dangerous. It requires opening yourself completely to another's pain, their evil. Many who tried were consumed by what they sought to purify. Isolde's expression grew serious. We will not attempt it until you have mastered the other gifts. Promise me. I promise. Knock at door interrupted them. Marjorie entered with bow. My lady's Alpha King requests your presence at dinner, and Lord Commander Marcus has arrived to escort Lady Isolde. At mention of Marcus, something flickered across Isolde's face, something like fear mixed with desperate hope. Man appeared in doorway behind Marjorie, tall and broad-shouldered despite years with silver threading through dark hair and eyes color of storm clouds. He wore armor of warrior but removed helm as entered, revealing face lined with experience and weathered by decades of service. He looked at Isolde and world seemed to stop. Isolde. Her name on his lips carried weight of lifetimes. Marcus. Her voice broke on single word. They stared at each other across tower room, and Alara suddenly felt like she was intruding on something profoundly private. I will give you a moment, she said quietly, slipping past Lord Commander and following Marjorie into corridor. Behind her, she heard Mother begin to cry. Marjorie led Alara through fortress toward private dining hall, but Alara's mind was spinning. Who is Lord Commander Marcus? Alpha King's most trusted advisor, his oldest friend. Marjorie's voice softened. And if rumors are true, Lady Isolde's first love. They were betrothed as children 40 years ago. But war came and Marcus was sent to Eastern Front. By time he returned, Isolde had been declared dead in purge. He never married, never stopped mourning her. And now she is alive, and he is here. Yes, Marjorie smiled. Sometimes Moon Goddess grants second chances, even to those who think they are too old for such blessings. They found Darius waiting in dining hall, standing at windows overlooking darkening mountains. He turned as they entered, and Alara's breath caught, despite herself. He had changed into simpler clothes, just dark tunic and breeches, silver hair loose around shoulders. He looked younger somehow, less like king and more like man. Leave us. His eyes never left Alara's face. Marjorie bowed and departed, and suddenly they were alone. Silence stretched taut between them. How was your first day? His voice carefully neutral, educational. Alara moved toward table where food had been laid out, needing something to do with hands. My mother taught me to heal. I felt it. He crossed room toward her, and she noticed he moved differently now. Less predatory, more cautious. Power surge echoed through fortress. Every wolf sensitive to magic felt moon-blessed awaken. Is that problem? It is declaration. Now everyone knows what you are, what you can become. He stopped careful distance away, respecting space between them. You will have allies who want to use your gifts, and enemies who want to destroy them. Like whoever sent assassins for my father. Yes, his jaw tightened. I have had my people investigating for years. Trail is cold, but there are whispers. Organization that survived purge. That wants to ensure Moonblessed never rise to power again. Why tell me this now? Because you asked for truth. Because you deserve to know what threats you face. He gestured to chairs. Will you eat with me? I promise no tricks. No commands, just dinner and conversation. Laura studied him, looking for deception, but silver eyes held only tired sincerity. She nodded and took seat, watching as he served her himself, placing food on plate with same care he had shown at feast. They ate in silence for a while, tension gradually easing into something almost comfortable. Then Darius spoke, voice low and thoughtful. I have been thinking about what you said, that we have 10 months to turn force into choice. And I realize I have been going about this entirely wrong. I claimed you thinking possession would be enough, That mate bond would do rest. He set down fork, meeting her eyes directly. But bonds can be chains or bridges. I made ours chain. Now I must try to rebuild it as bridge. How do you propose to do that? By courting you properly. By giving you respect and patience I should have shown from beginning. He leaned forward slightly. I want to know you, Alara. Not just your body, but your mind, your dreams, your fears, everything that makes you who you are. Why should I believe you? Because I have nothing to gain by lying. Prophecy is clear. If you do not love me willingly, we both lose everything. His voice carried bone-deep weariness. I have lived 300 years, Alara. I have conquered territories and won wars and accumulated more power than any wolf alive. But none of it means anything if I cannot earn heart of one 18-year-old girl who has every reason to hate me. Raw honesty in words cracked something inside her chest. I do not hate you. You should. Perhaps. She picked at food. But hate requires certainty. And I am not certain of anything anymore. Who I am, what I am, whether my feelings are real or just mate bond manipulating me into compliance. Mate bond amplifies what is already there. It does not create feelings from nothing. He reached across, table palm up, offering but not demanding. What do you feel when you look at me? Alara stared at outstretched hand, considered lying, considered protecting herself. But something in his expression, vulnerable and hopeful and terrified in equal measure, made her choose honesty instead. I feel angry that you took my choice, afraid that I will never be enough for what you need, confused because my body responds to you even when my mind says it should not. She swallowed hard. And underneath all that, something that feels dangerously like hope. Hope that maybe you meant what you said about building bridge. His fingers closed slowly around hers, touch gentle and reverent. Then let me prove it to you. Give me chance to show I can be more than beast who claimed you in darkness. How? One day at a time, one conversation, one shared meal, one moment of genuine connection. His thumb traced circles on back of hand. Let me court you as I should have done from start. And at end of 10 months you will make your choice with full knowledge of who I am. Not as king, but as man. Alara looked at their joined hands, feeling warmth of skin against her steady thrum of mate bond, connecting them whether she wanted it or not. She thought of mother's words, of second chances in complicated men, and difference between possession and partnership. One day at a time, she agreed quietly. His smile when it came transformed his face utterly. Days fell into new rhythm. Mornings, Alara trained with Isolde, learning to access gifts with increasing confidence. She could heal now without conscious thought, power flowing through her as naturally as breathing. She was learning truth-seeing too, though that gift was harder. It required looking deeper than surface words, sensing currents of emotion and intention flowing beneath. Truth-seeing is not mind-reading, Isolde explained during one session. You cannot hear thoughts, but you can feel whether words align with genuine emotion, whether someone believes what they are saying or if they are trying to deceive. Alara practiced on servants on guards, learning to distinguish between polite lies and malicious ones, learning to see past masks people wore. Afternoons, she walked fortress with Marjorie, learning names and faces of those she would one day rule. Pack was massive, hundreds of wolves who watched their future queen with curiosity and judgment in equal measure. Evenings belonged to Darius. True to word, he courted her with patience she had not thought him capable of. He did not demand presence in bed, did not use Ulfric command to override boundaries. Instead, he invited her to share meals, to walk in gardens, to sit by fire in private study, while he read aloud from ancient texts. He told her stories of long life, of empires he had seen rise and fall, of wars he had fought and regretted, of loneliness that came with watching everyone you loved age and die while you remained unchanged, locked in amber, waiting for something you could not name. I stopped counting years after first century, he admitted one evening as they sat on balcony under canopy of stars. Time becomes meaningless when you have too much of it. I watched my brothers grow old and pass, my parents, friends, lovers. You have had other lovers, many. He did not try to soften it, but none that mattered, none that were mate bond deep, just bodies seeking comfort from each other in dark. He turned to look at her. Until you are first one who has made me feel something in decades, something beyond hunger or duty or hollow satisfaction of conquest. What do I make you feel? Alive. Word came out raw, terrified, hopeful, like perhaps these 300 years of waiting were not punishment but preparation, so that when I finally found you, I would understand what I had. Alara's heart twisted in chest. You have strange way of showing understanding. Taking girls' innocence by force is hardly action of someone who comprehends her value. I know. He looked away, jaw tight with shame. I panicked. Centuries of control shattered moment I saw you. I had spent so long searching, and when I finally found you, all I could think was that I had to claim you immediately, before you could be taken, before fate could steal you away. It had stolen everyone else. So you stole me first. Yes, he faced her again, and I will spend rest of my life trying to make that right, if you let me. She wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to hurt as protection against pull she felt toward him. But sitting here under stars, listening to ache in voice, she found anger transmuting into something more complicated. Understanding, not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. Tell me something no one else knows, she said impulsively, something you have never shared. He was quiet for so long, she thought he would refuse. Then I dream of her sometimes. The first one, woman I loved 300 years ago. Ilara's stomach dropped. You loved someone before me? I think so. I'm not certain anymore if memories are real or if I have invented them to fill void. He stared out at mountains. Her name was Liana. She had hair like moonlight and eyes color of twilight. She was moon-blessed, like you. And she died in my arms, killed by assassins who wanted to destroy peace we had built. Name sent ice through veins. Liana. Why did that name feel familiar? How did she die? She threw herself between me and Poison Blade, used her gifts to heal me while poison ravaged her own body. His voice had gone hollow. I tried everything to save her, begged every healer in territories. But Moonblessed cannot heal themselves. And so I held her while she died, and I swore I would find her again, that I would recognize her soul no matter how many lifetimes it took. Ilara's hands had gone numb. You think I am her, reincarnated. I do not know what I think anymore. He finally looked at her. But when I saw you in that corridor, when your violet eyes met mine, I felt recognition so deep it stole breath from lungs. Like coming home after centuries of wandering. Like finding something I had lost before I even knew what loss meant. That is not love, Darius. That is projection. You are seeing someone else when you look at me. No. He reached for hand, and this time she let him take it. I thought that too at first. But these past weeks talking with you, learning who you are now, I realize you are nothing like my memories of Liana. You are fiercer, more stubborn. You question everything where she accepted. You demand respect where she gave it freely. He brought hand to lips, pressing kiss to knuckles. I may have claimed you thinking you were her returned to me, but I am staying because you are you, and you are far more remarkable than any ghost from my past. Ilara's breath had gone shallow. How do I know that is true? You have truth seeing now. Use it on me. She hesitated, then reached for gift Mother had been teaching her, looked beyond words to currents of emotion flowing beneath, and what she found there stole air from lungs. Truth, pure and absolute. He believed every word he had just spoken. But there was something else too. Something deeper and older lurking in corners of consciousness he did not fully understand. Memories that did not quite fit. Dreams that felt too real. Before she could examine further, Darius stood abruptly. It is late, you should rest. Tomorrow is full moon, and Isolde wants to teach you lunar communion. You will need your strength. He helped her to feet, ever gentleman now, and escorted her back to chambers. At door, he paused. Thank you for listening tonight, for trying to understand. His hand came up to cup, face touch, feather light. I know I do not deserve your patience, but I am grateful for it nonetheless. Then he was gone, leaving Ilara alone with spinning thoughts, an echo of name that would not stop whispering through mine. Liana, Liana, Liana. That night, Ilara dreamed. She stood on battlefield drenched in moonlight, surrounded by fallen wolves. Her hands glowed with violet fire, and she was screaming names she could not quite hear. Man appeared through smoke, silver-haired and desperate, reaching for her even as arrows filled sky. She ran to him, threw herself between him and death, felt blade pierce chest, felt him catch her as she fell, felt his tears on face as darkness closed in. Find me, she heard herself whisper with last breath. Promise you will find me. I swear it, I swear it, I swear it. Then agony, then nothing. Ilara woke gasping, nightgown soaked with sweat, phantom pain of blades still burning in chest. She stumbled from bed and stared at herself in mirror, half expecting to see blood. But there was only own pale face, violet eyes wide with terror and impossible recognition. She had not been dreaming Liana's death. She had been remembering it. Next morning, Ilara burst into Mother's chambers before sun had fully risen. Isolde sat at window, and beside her, holding hand, with tender familiarity of long-lost lovers, Reunited sat Lord Commander Marcus. They both turned at her entrance, and Alara saw own panic reflected in Mother's eyes. You dreamed, Isolde said. Not question. I remembered. Alara's voice shook. I died. 300 years ago, I died for him, for Darius. And he has been waiting, searching, trying to find me ever since. Marcus stood, warrior's instincts taking over. I will summon his majesty. No, Isolde's voice cracked like whip. What yet? She needs to understand what this means before she faces him. She guided Alara to a chair, kneeling before her and taking trembling hands. Moon-blessed do not reincarnate by accident, my darling. Our souls return when there is unfinished business, purpose unfulfilled. What purpose? I do not know, but if you are truly Lyanna returned, then your love story is not finished. Goddess herself has granted you both another chance, or condemned us to repeat same tragedy. Alara felt tears burning behind eyes. She died, Mother. I died. What if that is our fate? What if loving him means dying for him again? Then you will make different choices this time. Marcus's deep voice rumbled across the chamber. I have served Darius for 200 years. I watched him after Lyanna's death, watched him become hollow, watched him bury heart so deep I feared he would never feel again. But you have brought him back from that darkness. And if Goddess saw fit to reunite your souls, perhaps it is not to relive tragedy, but to rewrite it. How can you know that? I cannot. Marcus moved to stand beside Isolde, a hand resting on her shoulder, in casual intimacy, speaking of nights spent rediscovering each other. But I know Darius better than any living soul, and I have never seen him like this. Gentle, patient, vulnerable. You have changed him, Lady Alara. Made him remember what it means to love rather than possess. Isolde squeezed Alara's hands. You have choice, daughter. You can run from this knowledge. Refuse bond out of fear that history will repeat. Or you can embrace it. Face your destiny with open eyes and try to forge different ending. That is not choice. That is just two different ways to be trapped. No, Isolde's voice went firm. Choice is always real, even when options are all difficult. You can choose fear or courage, isolation or connection, past or future. She pulled Alara into embrace. But whatever you choose, know that I will stand beside you. That is what mothers do. Alara clung to her drawing strength from woman who had sacrificed 18 years to keep her safe. And slowly beneath fear and confusion, something else began to grow. Curiosity, if she had lived before, if she and Darius had loved and lost and been given another chance, did she not owe it to past self to at least try, to see if this time could be different? I need to talk to him, she said, finally pulling back to meet Mother's eyes. I need to know what he remembers, what he has been carrying alone all these years. Are you certain? No. Alara stood on shaking legs. But I am tired of being afraid, tired of letting fear make my decisions for me. She found Darius in training yards sparring with warriors. He fought with shirt discarded, muscled torso gleaming with sweat in morning sun, moving with lethal grace as he disarmed one opponent after another. Watching him, Alara felt echo of recognition so deep it ached. I have seen him fight before. Have watched those same muscles flex and coil. Have felt those arms around me as a world burned. He sensed presence and stopped mid-strike, silver eyes finding hers across yard. Something in expression must have given her away because he immediately dismissed sparring partners and strode toward her, unconcerned with state of undress. What is wrong, I remember. Words tumbled out. Not everything, just fragments, but enough to know that what you said is true. I am her. I am Lyanna, and you have been alone for 300 years because of me. His face went through dozen emotions in space of heartbeat. Shock, hope, fear. Then he was pulling her away from prying eyes into empty weapons and backing her against wall with body caging hers. Tell me, voice raw, desperate. Tell me what you remember. Battlefield, assassins, blade. Her hands came up to rest against bare chest, feeling heart hammering beneath palms. I threw myself in front of you, used my power to heal you while poison killed me, and I made you promise to find me. I swear it, I swear it, I swear it. He repeated words like prayer. That is what I said as you died in my arms, and I have kept that promise. I have searched for you through decades and wars and endless loneliness, and now you are here. Now you are real, and I cannot lose you again. His forehead dropped to rest against hers, breath ragged. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this. How to make you love me again so history does not repeat. I do not think you can make me love you. Alara's hands slid up to frame face, forcing him to meet eyes. But perhaps you can earn it. Show me that this lifetime can be different. that we can be partners instead of possession, that you have learned from our tragedy instead of being doomed to repeat it. I will. His hands came up to cover hers. I swear on my life and power and Moon Goddess herself, I will be worthy of you this time. I will not let my fear and possessiveness destroy what we could have. Then start by stepping back, by giving me space to breathe. It clearly cost him, but he obeyed, moving back until careful distance separated bodies. Better, better. She managed shaky smile. Now tell me about her, about us, everything you remember. They spent morning in that shed, Darius painting pictures with words of love that had bloomed 300 years ago. Of young moon-blessed healer who had tamed brutal warrior king with patience and laughter. Of partnership that had brought peace to warring territories. Of happiness cut short by enemies who could not bear to see such power united. You were different then, he said quietly, softer, more trusting. You believed in inherent goodness of people, even when they gave reason not to. And how am I different now? You question everything. You demand proof. You fight for your autonomy even when it would be easier to submit. His eyes held warmth. I think I like you better this way. You are stronger than she was, perhaps strong enough to survive what killed her. Do you know who sent assassins? I hunted them for years after your death, killed dozens. But I never found true source. They covered tracks too well. His jaw tightened. But I know they still exist. That is why I had to claim you quickly, before they could find you. Before I could lose you again to same enemy. Understanding clicked into place. That is why you were so desperate, so rough. You were not just claiming mate. You were racing against invisible threat. Yes. He looked away, shame written across features. But that does not excuse what I did. I let fear drive me to hurt you. And I will regret that for rest of my very long life. Alara studied him, this man who had carried grief for 3 centuries, who had violated her out of desperate love, who was trying so hard now to be better. I forgive you, she said quietly. His head snapped up. What? I forgive you for claiming, for taking my choice. She moved closer, hands finding his. Not because what you did was right, but because I understand now why you did it, and because you are trying to make amends. Alara. But understanding is not same as love. Forgiveness is not same as trust. She looked up at him steadily. You still have to earn those. You still have to prove that this time will be different. I will. He brought hands to lips, kissing each knuckle with reverent care. Every day, every moment, until you believe it. From outside, shed commotion erupted. Shouts, clash of steel. Darius's head snapped toward sound, every muscle going tense. Stay here, he commanded, already moving toward door. But Alara was done obeying commands. She followed him out into chaos. Training yard had erupted into violence. Woman with midnight hair and golden eyes stood at center, surrounded by dozen warriors with weapons drawn. She wore colors of Eastern territories and face twisted with fury. Celeste Ravencroft. Where is she? Celeste's voice rang across yard. Where is false moon blessed, who has bewitched our king? Darius stepped forward, silver eyes blazing with alpha authority. Stand down, Lady Celeste. You have no right to enter my fortress making demands. I have every right. Celeste's gaze found Alara emerging from shed, and something like pain flickered across face. My grandmother was moon-blessed. She died in purge, screaming for mercy, while your kind watched and did nothing. Accusation hung in air like poison. Alara felt it like blow. I was not alive during purge, she said, voice steadier than she felt. I did not cause your grandmother's death. But you benefit from it. Celeste took step forward, warriors moving with her. You get to live, get to wear fancy dresses and sit beside kings, while my grandmother's bones rot in unmarked grave. That is enough. Darius moved between them, power pressing down on everyone in yard. You will not threaten my mate. Your mate, Celeste's laugh was bitter. Is that what you call someone you claim by force? Someone you stole from her own life and dragged to your bed regardless of will? Words echoed across silent yard. Alara saw judgment flicker across warrior faces, saw them wondering if their king was rapist beneath crown. It is more complicated than that, Alara heard herself saying. Lady Celeste, I understand your anger. I cannot imagine pain of losing family to such violence. But I am not your enemy, and neither is he. Not anymore. How can you defend him? Celeste's voice cracked. How can you stand there and make excuses for a man who took everything from you? Because I choose to. Alara stepped around Darius, ignoring growl of warning, and walked toward Celeste until only few feet separated them. Because I have learned that holding on to anger only poisons holder. Because I have been given second chance at life I do not fully understand, and I refuse to waste it seeking revenge for past. She looked at this woman who should have been enemy and saw beneath fury to grief that drove it. Saw granddaughter still mourning, still seeking justice for death that could never be avenged. Your grandmother deserved better, Alara said softly. All moon-blessed who died deserve better, but I cannot change what happened. I can only try to build something new. World where no one else has to die for their bloodline. Celeste stared at her for a long moment, golden eyes searching. Then slowly she lowered weapon. You are braver than I expected. Her voice quieter now, and perhaps more foolish. Do you really think you can change centuries of violence with pretty words? I think I have to try, because alternative is letting fear and hate win. Alara extended hand. Help me. Teach me about court politics and how to navigate nobles who will resent my rise. Be my ally instead of my enemy. Why would I do that? Because your grandmother would have wanted Moonblessed to rise again. Because you deserve justice, not revenge. Because I need friends more than enemies. Alara smiled slightly. And because I think beneath that anger you are a good person who wants to do right thing. For heartbeat, Celeste looked like she might refuse. Then her hand clasped Alara's strong and sure. You are insane, she said, but there was ghost of smile on lips. But perhaps that is what world needs. Moon-blessed crazy enough to forgive and king desperate enough to change. Behind them, Darius released breath he had been holding. Warriors slowly lowered weapons, and Alara felt something shift in air, something that tasted almost like hope. Come, she said to Celeste, walk with me. We have much to discuss. As they left training yard together, Alara felt Darius's eyes on back, felt his pride and amazement flowing through mate bond. She had diffused situation that could have turned bloody, had turned enemy into potential ally. Perhaps she was not just Liana returned. Perhaps she was becoming someone new, someone stronger, someone who could save kingdoms not through sacrifice, but through wisdom. That evening, Darius asked her to meet him in place she had not yet seen. He led her up narrow stairs to highest point of fortress, where plateau of stone offered views of world in every direction. I come here when weight of being king becomes too heavy, he explained, as they stood together under emerging stars. When I need to remember that I am more than my title. Alara breathed in cool mountain air and felt some of day's tension leave shoulders. It is beautiful. Not as beautiful as you. He moved to stand beside her, careful not to touch. What you did today. With Celeste, that was remarkable. I just told her truth. You showed her mercy, grace, strength I did not know you possessed. He turned to face her fully. You are going to be extraordinary Queen Alara Whitmore, with or without me beside you. I think I would prefer with. Words surprised her even as she spoke them. If you can continue being man you have been these past weeks, patient, honest, willing to share power instead of hoarding it. You mean it? Hope blazed in silver eyes. You truly want to try? I do. She reached for hand-lacing fingers together. I still do not love you, not way prophecy requires, but I think I could, given time, given continued proof that you respect me. I will give you both. He lifted their joined hands, pressing kiss to knuckles. I swear it. They stood together on that plateau as night descended, and for first time since claiming Alara felt genuinely peaceful. Felt like perhaps this impossible situation might actually work. She was learning who she had been, discovering who she could become, and building bridge between two that might just be strong enough to hold them both. Somewhere in fortress below, Isolde and Marcus laughed together like young lovers despite silvered hair. Celeste penned a letter to father explaining change of heart, and servants whispered about miracle they had witnessed, future queen who chose compassion over vengeance. Full moon rose silver and bright over Shadowkeep, and under its light destinies shifted. Old wounds began to heal, and two souls separated by death and time took their first tentative steps toward finding each other again. Not as possession and prisoner, but as partners choosing to build something new from ashes of tragedy. Morning of presentation ceremony dawned bright and cold winter sunlight, streaming through windows, frosted with ice crystals glittering like diamonds. Alara stood before mirror in chambers, while three attendants worked to fasten gown creation of silver silk and white fur, making her look like she had been carved from moonlight itself. She barely recognized woman staring back. Gone was frightened servant girl who had cowered in hallways. Gone was violated innocent who had wept in strange beds. In their place stood someone new, someone with violet eyes blazing with power barely contained, someone who had learned to forgive without forgetting, to love without losing herself. You look like queen. Isolde appeared in doorway, resplendent in own gown of deep blue. Behind her, Marcus waited in full ceremonial armor, In way, they stood close enough to touch without actually touching spoke volumes about relationship bloom these past weeks. I feel like imposter. Alara's hands trembled as attendant placed circlet on head. Not simple silver band from feast, but intricate crown of moonstone and diamonds catching light and scattering it like stars. That is good. Celeste swept into room magnificent in gold and crimson. Over past 2 weeks, she had become something Alarabah had not expected friend, advisor, sister in all but blood. Queens who feel too comfortable in crowns become tyrants. Little uncertainty keeps you humble. I am not certain I want to be humble today. Ilara turned from mirror. Today I want to be fierce. Today I want every wolf in that hall to see me and know I am not just Darius's possession. I am power in my own right. Then that is what they will see. Isolde moved forward, taking daughter's hands. Because it is true, you have grown so much these past months. Learned to wield gifts with precision. Made allies of enemies. Showed strength without cruelty and mercy without weakness. Marcus' cleared throat, weathered face softening as he looked at Alara. Alpha King has asked me to tell you that he waits in Great Hall, and that he is proud beyond words to stand beside you today. Something warm bloomed in Alara's chest. Darius. Over weeks of careful courtship, of shared meals and midnight conversations and long walks through winter gardens, she had felt resistance crumbling like walls before tide. Had felt something that might actually be love, taking root in spaces where fear used to live. She had not told him yet, had not spoken words prophecy demanded. But perhaps today, after ceremony after Pack accepted her as their future queen, she would find courage. I am ready, she said, lifting chin. They processed through fortress like parade of legends. Alara at center, flanked by Isolde and Celeste, with Marcus leading way and dozen honor guards following. Wolves lined corridors, dropping to knees as she passed. Alara forced herself to walk with confidence she did not quite feel. Great Hall had been transformed. Banners in silver and blue hung from every surface. Candles blazed in chandeliers until whole space glowed like captured starlight. And at far end on raised dais stood Darius. He wore ceremonial robes of midnight blue, embroidered with silver wolf's hair, pulled back to reveal strong lines of face. But it was eyes that captured her, silver and burning with emotion so fierce it stole breath from lungs. Pride, love, hope. Assembled Pack watched in perfect silence as Alara made way down center aisle. Every high-ranking wolf from every territory had been summoned. They stood in finest closed faces ranging from curious to skeptical to openly hostile. She could feel judgment like weight pressing down on shoulders, but she did not falter. Did not lower gaze. She was moon-blessed, last of ancient line, and she would not apologize for existing. When she reached dais, Darius descended steps to meet her. He took hand, and contact sent warmth racing up arm. You are magnificent, he murmured for her ears alone. Do not let it go to your head. I am still deciding whether to keep you. His smile was quick and genuine, transforming face from severe to breathtaking. Then he turned to face assembled, a Pack voice carrying through hall with alpha authority. My people. For 300 years I have ruled these territories alone. I have brought you prosperity and protection. I have defended borders and expanded influence. But I have done so without balance that comes from true partnership, without wisdom that comes from having mate who sees world differently than I do. He lifted Alara's hand, presenting her to crowd. Moon Goddess, in her infinite wisdom, has granted me what I thought was lost forever. She has returned to me soul I loved and lost centuries ago. She has given me Alara Whitmore, last of Moonblessed, descended from line that once brought peace to warring packs. Murmurs rippled through crowd, not all approving. I know some of you question this union. Question how Omega servant can stand beside your king. Question whether old bloodlines still matter in our modern age. Darius's voice hardened. Let me be clear. Alara is not here because I claimed her. She is here because she has proven herself worthy 100 times over. She has shown compassion to enemies, strength in face of fear, wisdom beyond her years. He turned to look at her, and eyes held such tenderness that Alara's throat tightened. She has taught me what true power looks like. Not domination, but partnership. Not force, but choice. She has made me better king simply by demanding I be better man. Hall had gone silent, every eye fixed on them. Today, I ask you to accept her as your future queen. Not because I command it, though I could, but because she has earned right through own merit, through gifts and courage and unwavering commitment to building something better than what came before. He released hand and stepped back, leaving her alone at center of dais, exposed, vulnerable, waiting for judgment. For a long moment, no one moved. Then from back of hall, elderly wolf stepped forward. He was bent with age, face weathered by 100 winters, but eyes sharp and clear. I remember moon blessed, voice quavered but carried. I was boy when purge began. I watched them die, and I have carried shame of my silence for 80 years. If goddess sees fit to return their line, who are we to question her wisdom? He dropped to one knee. I accept Alara Whitmore as my queen. Another wolf stepped forward, then another. One by one they knelt until entire hall had bent like grass before wind. Even skeptical ones. Even those who had come prepared to challenge. They knelt for her. Alara felt tears burning behind eyes but refused to let them fall. Instead, she lifted hands and violet light bloomed from palms like flowers opening to sun. I accept your loyalty, she said, voice steady and clear. And I swear to you that I will spend my life earning it, that I will use my gifts to heal, not harm, to build, not destroy, to bring wisdom of old bloodlines into this new age. Light spread from hands washing over assembled wolves like benediction. And where it touched, Alara felt sharp edges of doubt and suspicion softening into something closer to hope. This was what she was meant for. Not just to break curse, but to rebuild what had been broken. To show that old ways and new could exist in harmony. When light faded, Darius moved to stand beside her once more. He took hand and raised it high. Behold your future queen. Behold moon-blessed returned. Hall erupted in cheers that shook rafters. Celebration that followed was magnificent. Tables groaned with roasted meats and fresh bread and wine flowing like rivers. Musicians played and wolves danced, and for first time since arriving at Shadowkeep, Alara allowed herself to feel genuinely happy. Darius kept her close hand at small of back as they moved through crowd, accepting congratulations. Isolde and Marcus danced together like young lovers despite years, and watching them made Alara's heart ache with vicarious joy. Even Celeste seemed content deep in conversation with several young nobles who hung on her every word. Are you happy? Darius asked as they stood at edge of dance floor watching celebrations swirl around them. I think I am. Alara looked up at him. Is that allowed? After everything that has happened, after how this began, am I permitted to feel joy? You are permitted to feel whatever you wish. His hand came up to cup face. But I am glad it is joy. I was terrified you would always associate me with pain. I did, for a long time. She leaned in to touch. But you have worked so hard to show me you can be different. That we can be different. And I think, she never finished sentence. Great doors exploded inward with crash that silenced music instantly. Through splintered wood poured figures in dark cloaks moving with supernatural speed and precision. They wore masks carved to resemble skulls, and in hands they carried weapons gleaming with oily sheen Alara recognized. Poison. Darius moved faster than Thoughtbody, interposing itself between Alara and attackers. Around them, warriors drew weapons and moved to defend King. But these intruders were prepared. They moved like smoke, taking down guards with brutal efficiency. The Shadow Order, Marcus roared, sword already drawn. Protect the king, protect the queen. Shadow Order. Name sent ice through veins. Organization that had orchestrated purge, that had hunted Moonblessed to extinction, that had sent assassins for Lyanna 300 years ago. They had found her. Battle erupted into chaos, wolves shifting into animal forms to fight, nobles screaming and fleeing, blood-staining floor that moments ago echoed with laughter. Through melee, Alara saw a figure taller than rest moving with terrible purpose toward center of hall. He wore no mask and face was beautiful and terrible in equal measure, ageless, ancient, eyes like bottomless pits. Mordecai, Darius breathed, and Alara heard 300 years of hatred compressed into single name. Ancient Alpha, who had orchestrated Lyanna's death, who had started purge, who should have been dead decades ago, but stood here now, radiating power, making air itself feel heavy. Hello, old friend, Mordecai's voice carried across chaos. Did you truly think I would allow history to repeat, that I would stand by and watch you claim another moon blessed to stand against me? You will not touch her. Darius's power exploded outward, driving back attackers and clearing space around them. You will leave this place or I will finish what I should have completed centuries ago. Bold words, Mordecai laughed. But you could not kill me then, and you cannot kill me now. I have grown too strong, fed on too much stolen magic. I am beyond death, beyond time, and tonight I will take what should have been mine all along. His hand lifted, an invisible force yanked Isolde and Marcus from crowd, dragging them through air to land at Mordecai's feet. His followers surrounded them immediately, blades pressed to throats. No! Alara surged forward, but Darius caught her, holding her back. Simple exchange, Mordecai continued. Moon blessed for lives of her mother and old commander. Surrender yourself willingly, and I will let them walk free. Do not listen to him, Isolde shouted, struggling against captors. He lies. He will kill us all regardless. True, Mordecai's smile was terrible. But your daughter does not know that with certainty, and maternal love makes such predictable fools of even wisest women. Alara felt Darius's arms tighten around her, felt his absolute refusal to let her go radiating through mate bond. There has to be another way, he said, voice raw. Name your price. Territory. Gold. My own life in exchange for theirs. I want what I have always wanted. Mordecai's eyes fixed on Alara with hungry intensity. Immortality. True immortality, not this half-life I have sustained through stolen scraps of magic. Moon-blessed blood is key. Willing sacrifice given in love grants eternal life. That is secret your precious Liana died protecting. Horror crashed over Alara. That was why assassins had targeted Liana. Why purge had happened. Mordecai had been hunting secret to true immortality, and moon-blessed blood was final ingredient. You cannot have her. Darius's voice had gone lethal, absolute. I will tear down sky before I let you touch her. Then her mother dies. Mordecai gestured and one of followers drew blade across Isolde's throat, not deep enough to kill, just enough to draw blood gleaming red against pale skin. Marcus roared and struggled, but more blades pressed against him, holding him immobile. Alara made decision in space between heartbeats. She could not let Mother die, could not let Marcus suffer for her sake. And if her death could somehow break curse, could end Mordecai's threat forever, was that not worth cost? I will go with you. Her voice rang clear across hall. Release them, and I will come willingly. No, Darius spun her to face him, eyes blazing with desperate fury. No, Alara, you cannot. We will find another way. I will not lose you again. You do not get to make this choice for me. She reached up to frame face with hands. You asked me once what true power looks like. It looks like choosing sacrifice. Like deciding my life matters less than people I love. Your life matters more than anything. His voice broke. Please, please do not do this. I have to. She pulled him down until foreheads touched. But know this, know that I love you, that I choose you, that if Goddess grants us another lifetime, I will find you again. She kissed him before he could respond, poured 10 weeks of careful courtship and growing affection and impossible hope into press of lips against his. Felt him kissing back with desperation of man watching heart walk away. Then she pulled free from arms and moved toward Mordecai before courage could fail. Wise choice, Mordecai's hand closed around wrist, and Alara felt power pressing against skin like ice. Release others. I have what I came for. His followers threw Isolde and Marcus aside and formed protective circle around leader. Then Shadow Order was moving, dragging Alara towards shattered doors and darkness beyond. She did not struggle, did not fight. She went willingly because that was only way to save those she loved. Behind her, she heard Darius roaring her name, heard him fighting through own warriors to reach her. But Shadow Order was already gone, melting into night like smoke. Last thing Alara saw before darkness swallowed her was Darius's face twisted with anguish and rage and helpless love. Then nothing. She woke in darkness, broken only by torchlight flickering against stone walls. Head throbbed and wrists burned where shackles bit into skin. She was chained to wall in what looked like ancient crypt air, thick with smell of old blood and older magic. Mordecai stood before her, watching with patience of something that had stopped counting years. You are awake. Good. I prefer my sacrifices conscious. Alara lifted chin despite fear churning in stomach. If you are going to kill me, just do it. Stop drawing this out. But where would be poetry in that? He moved closer and she could see now that he was not quite solid. His edges flickered like candle flame. I have waited 300 years for another moon blessed, planned and schemed and killed to ensure this moment. I will savor every second. Why, how? Question tore from her. Why do you need immortality so desperately? What drives you to commit such evil fear? His answer surprised her. I watched my parents age and die, watched my children follow them into darkness, watched centuries of life I built crumble to dust while I remained. And I learned that death is only true enemy. Everything else is just noise. So you murder innocence to escape fate we all share. I do what is necessary to survive. That is first law of nature. He produced knife black metal that seemed to drink in torchlight. And now moon blessed you will give me what I need. Blade descended toward chest and Alara closed eyes reaching for power. Not to fight, not to destroy, but to understand. Her gifts bloomed and suddenly she could see past Mordecai's words to truth beneath. Could see terrified child he had been when disease took family. Desperate young man who had stumbled onto forbidden magic. Slow corruption as he fed immortality with stolen life force year after year until he forgot what it meant to be human. He was not monster. He was tragedy. Cautionary tale about what happened when fear became only guiding principle. And in that moment of clarity, Alara understood what she had to do. Not fight him, not match violence with violence, but offer him what he truly needed. Forgiveness. Door exploded inward as Darius burst through warriors at back and murder blazing in silver eyes. He had found her, had torn through whatever defenses Shadow Order had erected to reach her side. Step away from her, he snarled, shifting into form that was half man, half wolf. All predator. Mordecai spun knife still in hand. So predictable. Even after 300 years you charge in like mindless brute. You have learned nothing. They clashed in blur of supernatural speed and violence. Claws against blade. Ancient power against ancient rage. Around them, warriors battled Shadow Order cultists, and Crypt became charnel house. Alara watched Darius fight with everything he had driven by love and terror and memory of loss. Watched Mordecai match him blow for blow, sustained by stolen magic and endless years. They were evenly matched. This fight could go on for hours, and when it ended, one or both would be dead, unless she stopped it. Alara reached deep into well of power she had been slowly learning to access. Reached past healing and truth-seeing to core gift every moon-blessed possessed, the one Isolde had warned her about. Purification. She pulled on that power until whole body blazed with violet light, until chains holding her melted like candle wax, until every cultist in room stumbled back, shielding eyes from radiance that burned without heat. Enough! Her voice crashed through Crypt like thunder, and both Darius and Mordecai froze mid-strike. This ends now, not with more death, not with more violence. With truth. She walked forward, light streaming from every inch of skin, and placed herself between two ancient wolves. Mordecai. She turned to face corrupted Alpha. You are afraid, I understand. Death terrifies you because you have made it your enemy instead of accepting it as part of cycle. But this is not the way. You understand nothing, he spat. You are a child playing with powers you cannot comprehend. I understand that you were once good, that you had family you loved, that you started down this dark path trying to protect what mattered. She stepped closer and he flinched back from light. And I understand that somewhere deep inside you know this is wrong, that you have become very thing you once fought against. It does not matter. I am too far gone. I cannot go back. Everyone can go back. Alara lifted glowing hands. I forgive you. For Purge. For Lyanna's death. For all pain you have caused across centuries. I forgive you. No. Mordecai staggered like she had struck on him. You cannot. Forgiveness is not possible for sins like mine. It is always possible. That is gift Moon Goddess gives to all her children. Lara placed hands against his chest over heart. Let me show you. Her power poured into him not as attack, but as offering. She showed him forgiveness, showed him peace, showed him that death was not enemy, but doorway to whatever came next. Mordecai screamed as light invaded darkness he had cultivated for centuries. Screamed as it burned away, stolen magic sustaining half-life. Screamed as it showed him, perhaps for first time in 300 years, who he had truly become. Then screaming turned to weeping. Ancient, terrible Alpha fell to knees before 18-year-old girl and sobbed like broken child. I am sorry. Oh Goddess, I am so sorry. What have I done? What have I become? Shadow Order cultists dropped weapons. Without Mordecai's will sustaining them, whatever spell had bound them shattered. They looked around in confusion as if waking from long nightmare. And deep beneath Shadowkeep, in places where ancient magic still flowed, Alara felt something fundamental shift. Felt curse that had hung over kingdoms for 200 years, crack and crumble. Not because she had fought, because she had forgiven. Darius stood frozen, staring at impossible scene. Who had haunted nightmares for centuries reduced to weeping shell. His mate blazing with power he had only glimpsed in legends. Alara turned to look at him, and in violet eyes he saw wisdom that should not exist in someone so young. Curse is broken, she said simply. Not because you claimed me, but because I chose compassion over vengeance, love over fear. Then her light flared one final time, washing over everyone in Crypt, and where it touched Darius felt something miraculous happen. Memories flooded back, not just own, but echoes from every wolf in room. Memories of lives lived before, of cycles completed and begun again, of souls finding each other across lifetimes. He saw himself as he had been 300 years ago, younger, crueler, learning softness only because Lyanna taught him. He saw Lyanna clearly now, not filtered through centuries of grief and longing. Saw how different she had been from Alara, how girl before him was not lost. Love returned unchanged, but something new, something better. And he saw Truth Goddess had been trying to show him all along. Ilara was not Liana. Ilara was the lesson. Chance to do it right this time. To choose love over possession. Partnership over domination. She had broken curse not through mate bond, but through own strength. Own choice. Own magnificent heart. I love you, Taryn, he said, words torn from somewhere deep and honest. Not because you are her, but because you are you. Because you are remarkable and brave and more powerful than I ever imagined. Because you chose to save me even when I did not deserve saving. Ilara's light softened, drawing back until she looked almost human again. Almost. I love you too, she whispered. And this time I choose you freely. Not because destiny demands it, but because I want to. She crossed space between them and kissed him, and Darius felt mate bond that had been forced and painful transform into something golden and right. Around them, magic bloomed like flowers after rain. In aftermath, truth emerged like light after storm. Mordecai freed from corruption that had sustained him, aged 300 years in space of heartbeats. He crumbled to dust before their eyes finally released to whatever judgment awaited. His cultists, freed from dark compulsion, knelt before Ilara and begged forgiveness. She granted it without hesitation because that was who she was. And deep beneath Shadowkeeping Chamber that had been sealed for 2 centuries, ancient magic stirred and revealed final secret. Isolde led them there following morning, hand clasped tight in Marcus's. She looked younger somehow, as if Ilara's power had healed wounds that went deeper than flesh. Chamber was lined with alcoves, each holding crystal pulsing with soft light. And in those crystals, Ilara could sense life. Sleeping. Waiting. Moonblessed did not go extinct. Isolde explained, voice trembling with wonder. When Purge began, elders cast spell. They put youngest of our line into magical sleep, hiding them where no one would think to look. In Alpha King's own fortress. How many, Ilara breathed. 13. All between ages of 15 and 20 when they were sealed. All waiting for curse to break so they could wake safely. 13 moonblessed. 13 chances to rebuild what had been lost. Ilara placed hands against nearest crystal and violet light bloomed. Girl inside stirred, eyes fluttering open for first time in 200 years. Over next hours they woke all 13. Frightened girls who aged into world. They woke in learning families were long dead and centuries had passed. But alive. Whole. Ready to learn what it meant to carry bloodline forward. Moon Goddess had not just saved one moon blessed. She had preserved line itself, waiting for someone brave enough to break curse and unlock future. Shadowkeep hosted ceremony unlike any in living memory that evening. Ilara stood before assembled pack wearing gown of moonlight silk hand, clasped in Darius's, as they spoke vows that were promise and choice in equal measure. She pledged herself to him, not as property, but as partner. He pledged himself to her, not as possession, but as protector. And when they kissed, a seal bondmate connection blazed so bright that every wolf in Fortress felt it like benediction. But they were not only ones taking vows that day. Isolde and Marcus stood beside them, silver-haired and beautiful, speaking promises they had waited 40 years to make. Joy on their faces made even most cynical warrior smile. When both ceremonies concluded, Darius lifted voice to address Pack. Today, we do not just celebrate 2 unions. We celebrate breaking of curse that has hung over our people for 200 years. We celebrate return of Moon Blessed, and we celebrate new beginning built on choice rather than force. He turned to Ilara, eyes shining with pride. Your new queen has decreed several changes to our laws, changes I support with full authority. Ilara stepped forward, voice carrying clear and strong. Henceforth, forced bonding is abolished. Every wolf, regardless of rank, has right to choose own mate. Omega oppression ends today. All wolves are equal under law. Murmurs rippled through crowd. Not all approving, change never came without resistance. Furthermore, Ilara continued, we will establish Moon Blessed Academy, place where those with gifts can learn to use them for healing rather than war, for peace rather than power. She looked at 13 newly woken girls standing together at front of crowd. You are not alone. You are not the last. We will build something beautiful from ashes of tragedy. And finally, she turned to Celeste, who stood proud in ambassador's colors. Lady Celeste Ravencroft is appointed first ambassador. She will travel territories seeking others with moon-blessed blood who may have survived in hiding. She will bring them home. Pack erupted in cheers and Ilara allowed herself to smile. It was not perfect. There would be resistance, challenges. Those who clung to old ways would not give them up easily. But it was beginning, and sometimes that was enough. Feast followed, lasting into night. Wolves from every territory came to witness miracle, to see Moon Blessed returned, to understand that new age had dawned. As celebration continued, Alara and Darius slipped away for a brief moment. They stood at window overlooking moonlit mountains, and Darius pulled her close. "Come to bed with me," he murmured against hair. "Not because I command it, not because duty requires it, but because you want to." "I want to," Alara whispered. "I choose you, tonight and always." They returned to chambers that were now truly theirs, and what passed between them was tender and sacred. Two souls finally united not by force but by love. In morning they woke tangled together, and Darius kissed her forehead with reverent care. "This time you came to me by choice. That means everything." "I know." Alara smiled against chest. At dawn. No. Alara stood in gardens of Shadowkeep holding bundle wrapped in soft white wool. Inside, baby girl with violet eyes and silver hair slept peacefully, completely unaware that she represented hope incarnate. Around her world had transformed. Moon-blessed Academy flourished, training not just 13 who had been in stasis, but 6 more who Celeste had discovered hidden in distant territories. Young women learning to heal and protect rather than hide. Laws had changed. Omegas no longer cowered in shadows. Forced bondings had been abolished. Peace had spread across territories that had been at war for generations. And in royal chambers, Isolde and Marcus could often be found teaching young couples about partnership and patience and difference between possession and love. Darius appeared at Alara's side, hand coming to rest gently on their daughter's head. "She has your eyes. And your stubborn chin." Alara leaned into him. "She is going to be handful. Just like her mother." He kissed top of head. "What should we name her?" Alara thought of woman she had been in another life. Sacrifice that had led to this second chance. "Liana. We will name her Liana, so that name carries hope instead of tragedy." "Perfect." Darius's voice was thick with emotion. "She would have loved that." They stood together in garden, 3 souls bound by love and choice and understanding that some bonds were worth waiting centuries for. Around them, Pack moved about daily lives, training, laughing, building futures on foundations of freedom rather than fear. Alara looked at daughter and thought about world she would grow up in. World where moon-blessed were celebrated rather than hunted. Where love was choice rather than compulsion. Where even darkest beginnings could transform into beautiful endings if people were brave enough to choose differently. "What are you thinking?" Darius asked. "That destiny may bring souls together." Alara smiled. "But only love freely given can bind them forever. And some bonds are worth waiting centuries for." Baby stirred and opened violet eyes, looking up at parents who would teach her about power and compassion in equal measure. Who would show her that strength came in many forms, that forgiveness could shatter curses, that choosing love over fear could change world. Above them, sun climbed toward zenith, burning away last shadows. And in fortress that had once been prison, Alara Whitmore Moon, blessed Queen Mother Miracle held family close and knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Not because destiny demanded it, but because she had chosen it. And that in the end made all the difference.